Look lively. Okay, waiting for us to come up on LinkedIn, waiting for us to come up. I think it's capturing us. I'm just not seeing it yet. My mic is directional. I have to stay right here. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Come on, LinkedIn. There we go. Okay, we're ready to rock. Ready to rock. Jordan, let's have the feed.
Have a great.
And we'll take pictures after, so don't run away on me, okay? I need pictures.
Welcome to Next at the Mic Radio, a lively hour of unscripted roundtable conversations with Voice America's longtime, new and upcoming hosts about their inspirations, goals, and insights to help you find your own mic. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's Bonnie D.
Thank you to that voice. I have a question for my guest, Michael Hartzman, Wendy Jones, Christine J. Erickson. Was that a real voice or was that AI? Michael, you're first. What do you think?
Since you asked the question, I'm going to say it's AI.
Okay. Could you tell if I hadn't asked?
No.
Okay. Wendy Jones, what do you think?
Same. Definitely AI.
Same. Christine, what do you think?
Well, someone's got to say an opposite answer. So
good for you. Tag
I'll
your
say that was a professional voice.
There you go. Well, it's a very nice voice. I forget his name, but Robert Cellino, at Voice America, worked on this voice for me for this show for a long, long time. And we went through dozens of samples. And finally, we picked this one. And I will tell you, some weeks, my guests actually think it's a live person. The vote is, it's live. Nice. He does a really good job. Robert and this. I forget what we named this guy, Drew or Harry or something like that. Anyway, welcome to Next to the Mic, Next at the Mic, Next near the mic. I'm Bonnie D. Happy to be here. I'm a host and producer on Voice America, and I have invited three people who are going to be my new best friends. They are also hosts and producers at Voice America. They've got their own shows. We're going to find out who they are, what they do. But the reason we're here is to talk about why radio. What is it about being at the mic? What is it you want to say? To whom do you want to say it? What's the impact you're hoping for and that you are getting? And what's the future of this communications medium? So, as I always do, and by the way, what day are we? We're at Tuesday, January 9th already. My goodness gracious. I can't even tell you. It's the 9th day of 2024 in the Gregorian calendar. And I don't know if you all know, but there was a Pope Gregorian, and he didn't like the Julian calendar. Michael, I'm not sure if you're aware of this. And he said to somebody, I don't like where he put those extra days, those leap year days. I don't like them. So he moved them around. And he said, now we're going to call it the Gregorian calendar. And it stuck. So on my Monday night creativity show, I do a shout out to Gregor or Grego, whatever his mommy called him. So he's one of the early creatives who actually created a calendar that's still with us hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, many centuries later. So there you go. 357 days remaining in the year. When we get closer to the end of the year, Christine, I tell my guests, be sure to have something ready for your New Year's Eve celebration. But since we just finished it, I'm not going to say that to all of you. We're going to find out who's a Capricorn later, but we're going to play a little zodiac game. But what I'd like to do now is I want to read my monologue, and I'll warn you that I use ChatGPT, yes, the free version so far, and I input a bio on each of you, Wendy, Christine, and Michael, and a couple of words about myself. And I say, write a poem for me. And it puts out, anybody use ChatGPT? Wendy or Christine or Michael, you using it? Okay, then it's within 3 seconds you get an answer. So I get the poem and then I tweak it, I customize it, I make it my own. So we're saying this is co-created by AI and a human. And as far as I check, Jordan, our engineer, will validate that Bonnie D is still a human. So I think I can validate that. Okay, so here we go. Listen up when I call your name, just wave. Welcome to Next at the Mic, a platform unique, where Voice America hosts your interest. We will pique. Host Bonnie D, that's me, with passion to wow, I think you know that already, welcomes 3 stars. We're calling this loud and clear. Now, Wendy Jones, wave hello, hosts Next Steps for Seniors with Care. In 2022, Corporate Magazine acclaimed her rare. Wendy, how exciting. Michael Hartzman, CFP. Welcome. Hey, hello. A sage from Wall Street stages, co-host the Lebenthal Report, where his wisdom engages. I hope you like that, Michael. These are
I love it.
Christine J. Erickson, new legacy radio pioneer, founded the Institute on Pronatalism's impact. Her views are crystal clear, and she's going to tell us more. So listen, watch, add delight to your day as Bonnie D's red mic is leading the way. Next at the mic, where our voices soar, a symphony of inspiration, hear radio's wisdom roar. What'd you all think? Did you like it?
Fantastic.
Nice.
Is that
Pretty
cool?
amazing. Yes.
I do that on my business shows too. And they say, what?
Wow.
Seriously? We're talking about drones and AI and you got a poem for us? I love it. I'm part of a poetry group online, but I never use AI for my personal poems. It's always just me. So there we go. Let's just find out, is anybody here a Capricorn? Let's have a little bit of zodiac fun. Anybody? Okay, well, we're not in Aquarius yet, which broke my heart because I wanted to go sing from Hair, you know,
Oh,
the
right.
end of Aquarius. No, it doesn't start till January 19th. But I will tell you, the Capricorn is, the Latin for Capricorn is horned goat or the sea goat. It's the 10th astrological sign. And I want to know if any of you want to be an honorary Capricorn. We'll just do this briefly. So I'm going to read you some characteristics and just put up a thumb or make a this kind of a symbol if you think you're that person, okay? Capricorns are hardworking. Come on, all of you, thumbs up. Persistent, creative, honest, reflective. Michael's winning on this one. Protective and sensitive, serious, faithful, completely trustworthy and loyal.
Just so many.
Not all of us.
It's-
But
Did you say
listen,
predictable?
what did I say? I said protective. But
Oh,
they have a wild side when they're off duty and they can let loose. They're stimulated by new things and it can be challenging to get them to settle down. Does that describe anybody here? Let's follow the shiny new, yeah, you know that one. Oh, and the cons are they're self-critical. They have a sarcastic humor, sense of humor, pessimistic, greedy, legendary, stubbornness, fussy, prickly, and irritable. I don't think anybody's going to admit to that. I don't know. I get a little moody, but I don't think that. Sarcastic, well, sometimes. It's a cardinal sign. The cardinal signs initiate a new season. So Cancer is the start of summer, Libra is fall, Aries is spring, and Capricorn is winter. So recommended careers. This might resonate with some of you. Accountant, excuse me, financial planner, Michael.
There you
That would
go.
be natural there. Scientist, anybody a scientist, computer programmer. I'm an early woman in tech. That's me. Teacher, electrician, realtor, HR manager, jeweler. I want to be a jeweler, and professional organizer. Anything resonate with you, Wendy or Christine? Nothing?
Not at
Well,
all.
I'm going to tell you, if you want to be an honorary Capricorn, I've got some famous people who are real Capricorns, and you're going to be surprised. Dolly Parton, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Ryan Seacrest, Happy New Year, Denzel Washington, Kate Middleton, Michelle Obama, Bradley Cooper, John Legend, Timothy Chalamet. I love his hair in Wonka. Very pretty. Zoe Deschanel, Orlando Bloom, and Meghan Trainor, the singer. They're all. So who wants to be an honorary Capricorn? Anybody? Nope. No buyers today? Okay, that's fine. Well, now you know if you run into a Cap, you can tell them not to be irritable and not to be sarcastic, but to be loyal and protective. There we go. Now it's time for you each to spend a couple minutes introducing yourself, please. Wendy Jones, I'm delighted to meet you. Thank you for accepting the invitation. Would you please take about 3 minutes? I'm starting the hourglass. Well, it's virtual, you know that. Would you tell us who you are, what you do, a little bit about your radio show, and yeah, introduce yourself. Wendy, welcome.
I would love to do that. And thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. So Next Steps for Seniors is a business first, because I started it because I saw a need, because we're going to have more seniors than ever before in history in our country. And nobody wants to talk about aging, yet we all do it, right? Everybody gets older every day, every year. We have a birthday. And as we age, things start happening, not just physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything starts happening, right? And as we age, what I realized, because I've been in the healthcare industry for 20 some plus years without giving out my age, I realized that people didn't know what to do, right? So let's say you have a loved one that goes into the hospital, or you can't drive anymore, or your spouse dies, or your mom gets dementia. There's so many things that can happen as we age, and everyone just throws up their hands and goes, I don't know what to do. I've never dealt with this before. So that's why I started my company, Next Steps for Seniors. And that's why it's so important to get the word out, and radio is the way to do it. This venue right now, we are able to communicate to everyone everywhere, because this information pertains to everybody. Unless you have some magic pill and you're not getting older, it happens to everyone. And the kicker is nobody wants to have these conversations, but I do. I love having these conversations with people, and I can share information with you that you wouldn't have even thought about. Some of the things, just to throw out really quick, like estate planning is a topic I do on my program. Medicare, did you know actually that 75% of people will need some kind of care as you age. And did you know insurance doesn't cover that? Medicare and Medicaid do not cover that. Medicare was a health care. It's for your doctors and your physicians. It's not to care for you. It's not to help you up and down the stairs or on and off the toilet or moving throughout your home or helping you eat. So these are the things that 75% of the people are going to need, and nobody wants to talk about this. So we all spend all of our money in retirement, and then when it comes time for, oh no, I might need home care or assisted living, everyone goes, what do I do now? That's why I have my podcast, to get the word out, to talk about aging, to talk about what the next steps for seniors really truly is. So I love what I do. I have a passion for seniors. I know that I was walking the other day in the airport, and a lady goes, yeah, nobody even thinks that old people are here. They think we're invisible. And I stopped and I looked at her and I go, not me. I see you. I don't think you're invisible. So that's where I'm at. Next steps for seniors, conversations on aging. Love it, live it, and appreciate it.
Thank you, Wendy. And your passion comes through. And that's important, that we love what we do, that we bring it on the radio, even though I live stream, and we're live streaming right now. Everybody wave hello to LinkedIn, everybody wave hello to Facebook, wave hello to YouTube. I just added YouTube 2 weeks ago, and wave hello virtually to Voice America Variety Channel. So even, I think we all know this by now, that even on radio, just audio, people hear you smile, don't they? People hear your enthusiasm. People hear your excitement. That's important to bring it. That's always been my philosophy. And I used to do radio at Voice America in 2011 on the phone, sometimes with 14 guests in one of my annual specials. Wow. 14 guests in an hour. Try that with 4 on deck every 14 minutes. Oh, it's fun. I push the limits, kids. Anyway, Wendy, it's delightful to meet you. And now I'm going to move around the table. One stop to Michael Hartzman, CFP. Michael, so happy to have you. And Michael and I rehearsed me to say the Lebenthal Report, even though the second letter is an E. So, Michael, I'm putting you on speaker view. Please tell us about yourself. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Bonnie. I appreciate it. So, Lebenthal Financial, the original legacy Lebenthal Financial, is actually a 90-year-old firm. Bonnie, you're from Long Island, so you may remember their old ads. My partner, Dominic Tavella, and I had an opportunity to purchase the name in 2018. My original firm and Dominic's original firm is over 30 years old. I am a certified financial planner. We do own our own broker-dealer, and we own our own registered investment advisory company and insurance agency. The primary work that we do is manage money. We manage about $1 billion with a B. But Wendy, I talk to my clients every day about all the topics that you just mentioned. They're all super important, and the work you do is important. So thank you for that. We started the podcast really as a result of the pandemic, because we were all at home, and Dominic and I decided we needed a venue to reach our clients, because they're all freaking out that the world was shutting down, the economy was shutting down. So we started doing client calls, and a lot of the clients said, hey, you guys are pretty good at this. So we were introduced to Voice America, Bonnie, in 2020, the year that the pandemic really started. And we've been doing a show ever since. Actually, if I wasn't on this show, I would be doing my show right now, Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, I'm honored.
Yeah, it's important. That's how Jason knows who I am. But what I do and what we love about what we do is the impact we have on people's lives. It's not about the money we manage, it's how that impacts their lives and lets them leave a legacy, lets them take care of their retirement, lets them take care of their children and their own parents. So that's what's really important to what we do. The money, I always say, is a byproduct of helping clients achieve their goals. And that's what Lebenthal is all about. I'm not sure if I did that in 3 minutes, but...
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. But what I hear a common thread so far, and I know Christine is going to add to this, between Wendy and Michael, and the word is community. You're reaching, it might be a huge community, or it might be just a little niche, a little slice of a community who need to have that information, want that information, and they get it in a unique way from each of you, because you're unique, the way you deliver it, the way you present it, the way you talk about it, the resources you bring in. On that note, Christine J. Erickson. Welcome. Let's put you on speaker view and let's hear who you are. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you, Bonnie. Thank you for having me. And it's great to meet both of you, Wendy and Michael. Yeah, I really appreciate listening to you because I think I can dovetail onto both of your comments from a different perspective. I'm the host of New Legacy Radio, which is a social justice platform for people without children. And I came to do this podcast because I founded New Legacy Institute, which is a policy institute looking at the same issues for not only equity and equal rights, really, where we're missing in policy and in the workplace, things like that, but beyond even people with children and looking at the world and population and the impact of pronatalism on the environment, the ecologies, the layers of ecology, and on everyone, really. Looking at pronatalism as a driver underneath and combined with other isms in society. And taking a policy perspective was kind of a leap from where a community is in terms of a collective conversation. We have a lot of great activists and writers and speakers and who have contributed to greater visibility to our community. And Bonnie, as you said, whether it's a small community or a large community, because this show is rather niche in its approach and focus, I do have to say that people without children are nearly 1/3 of the global population. And so when you see policies that are focused on family, whether those are national policies or workplace policies, and we are missing from that equation, both in terms of influencing or shaping the policy, but just even being included in it, that's a large portion of the population. And we really, as a community, are trying to come together. We need a collective voice, and we need to be participating in things that we have a lot, not only to contribute to, but to influence in ways that aren't just looking toward what do we need, but in creating and addressing what we need, we can really create more universal and inclusive policies that benefit everyone. So that's what I talk about. We've done a range of things on the show, and Wendy, I would love to talk to you about aging anytime. Yes, there's an aging population, which is part of the population conversation and fertility decline. And, very few countries are addressing this, as you said, let alone communities. However, our community is very sensitive to this because we recognize people they're not only aging, but a lot of them are aging alone without partners or children, which, that can happen in either group, whether you're a parent or not, of course. And it's so significant when there isn't community and there aren't those support resources and you're not thought of, or you have a surgery and, well, who's going to drive you? Who's going to pick you up? All of those things. I'm sure you have a list, but I would really love to speak with you sometime about from this perspective, and the same with financial planning. Michael, I learned from a child-free person who runs Child-Free Wealth. Dr. J, they call him. He was on my show, and he actually shared with me that in the financial industry, people without children is a reference to people who have an empty nest, whose children have left home. And we use that term, of course, for ourselves. So we kind of want to take that back. But that even financial planning is very different for people without children or people without children and or a partner. And often that can be overlooked, advertising, media, workplaces that are all family friendly or family focused. That's great, but it doesn't mean everyone, and it doesn't mean every kind of family. So
the mystery,
what we do.
The mystery there that I always unpack is when I ask a childless person, well, who are your beneficiaries? Because, with someone with children, it's easy. I could start writing before they start speaking. With someone who doesn't have any children, they'll say to me, well, who do you think I should make my beneficiary? Is it a charity? Is it a niece? Is it a nephew? So it's a challenge, and it comes up all of the time.
It does. And Christine, I'm going to ask you to give us a brief definition of the word Pronatalism. It's in your
Yes.
bio. I read it. I looked it up, but I'd like to hear it from your lips.
So
what does it mean?
Pronatalism is really the pushed, that everyone should procreate. All women should have children, that no matter what, that procreation is what sustains our economy, which are some of the issues we're facing right now in the population issue. For example, pronatalism contributes to devaluing people who are aging. As Wendy mentioned, again, these populations with more older people, we're freaking out. We're trying to plan. We're trying to guess what's next. But these are valuable people. They have lived lives. They have so many things to contribute and influence still. And instead of shifting toward that, we're saying, no, we need to make more babies at any cost, without the question of how do we take care of those children? How do we take care of women in the process? And so pronatalism is just the belief that is what things should be based on.
Thank you.
Babies and all women having babies.
I want to tell all of you that years ago, when my mom was alive, I started a show called Senior Moments, The Happy Ones. It was on PATV, based out of Lake Success, Long Island, actually the border of Queens and Long Island, Michael. And my mom was named Ruth. Mom lived to 100 years, 1 month, and 15 days, and lived on her own in a North Shore Towers, a luxury high rise. And she said, what, you're going to hire an aide to watch me have my hair done once a week and my nails, play the piano, go to see the Shalom Club, play mahjong, play bridge. You're going to hire somebody? She said, why? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, she lived a wonderful life, but we started a show, and I called myself the junior senior, and Ruth was the senior senior. And I would open, Wendy, I would open the show. We did 282 episodes from the time she was, I think, 80, almost until she was 100, just before her 100th birthday. And I used to introduce the show, and I'd say, people say children are our future, channeling Whitney Houston, of course. And I said, no, it's the seniors. Seniors have the experience. They have lived life. They have so much to share and to tell and to teach and to just contribute. And that's what our show, Senior Moments, was all about. So Wendy, I was just thinking of that. So thank you all. Thank you all. Wow. I marvel at bringing people from disparate, whatever you're doing, different shows, different topics, different lives, different expertises together. And there's always a common thread. Even if we weren't talking about seniors, there's something in here that we're all finding that's common among us. So we've got a new community now. Now, I've asked each of you to please send me a fictional quote from a character in a movie or a TV show or a song lyric that has nothing to do with specifically radio or hosting or anything like that. And I'm going to ask you I'm going to read the quote with a little background you saw in the setup invitation. I love to do my research. I'm going to read a little bit of my trivia background, and I'm going to ask you to just take about, we're on time. Take about 3 minutes. And if you see me doing this, it means, okay, start right. It doesn't mean cut off. If I do this, it means you're off the show. Something, no politics, no doom and gloom. We have our signals, don't we, on radio? Okay. So I'm going to read the quote that Wendy Williams has selected. And this is lovely. I am not aware of this
Wendy
quote.
Jones.
Wendy Jones. What do I call you? Wendy Jones. Wendy Jones. I'm sorry. It was just.
I don't have a TV show yet.
Forget. Well, you will. By the time I'm done with you, you will.
She's had the vision already.
You will. Seniors for helping seniors. Wendy Jones has sent a quote from Vivian Ward, played by the lovely, still very viable in the movie world, Julia Roberts. Pretty Woman, 1990. How many years ago was that? 33 years, 34 years ago.
Just a couple of few.
American romantic comedy film, directed by Gary Marshall, blah, blah, blah. Originally intended, I don't know if you know this, Wendy, it was originally intended as a dark cautionary tale about class and prostitution in LA. That was originally the theme for the movie. It was reconceived as a romantic comedy with a large budget. Julia Roberts got the Golden Globe for Best Actress, blah, 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 and an Oscar nomination. That started her on the way to superstardom. It had the highest number of ticket sales in the U.S. ever for a romantic comedy at that time. And it was like 42,176,000, just a little bit ahead of My Big Fat Greek Wedding. It was the fourth highest grossing film of all time worldwide, behind E.T. and Star Wars and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Important movie. Here's the quote Wendy Jones has picked. I need you to tell us, what does this have to do with our topic today? Here's the quote. Everybody listen up. Big mistake. Big, huge. I saw the scene. I watched the clip. So you tell me, what does this have to do with radio? Michael can't wait to hear this. Go ahead, Wendy.
Okay. First of all, you see why it was my favorite movie. And let me just add, now you know, I have an idea about how old I am too, because
No, I
Julia
don't.
Roberts is a dynamo, I think. So anyway, here's the quote. The quote, the reason I love this quote so much is because, and this is how it relates to radio, and you're going to follow me on this. I already know it. So right now, people are looking at us, right? They're like, oh, blonde hair, you know, Bonnie's got red hair, great glasses, lipstick, fantastic. But when Julia Roberts walked in that store, what did they do? They looked at her appearance and they literally said to themselves, this lady is not going to be able to afford to purchase anything in this store. So what did they do? They dismissed her. And what are we doing to some of our older generation? We're, you know, dismissing, not paying attention, not listening and learning from them. So that's how it relates to my topic, my show. But let's go further. So they dismiss her and she walks away. And the reason she comes back is because somebody paid attention to her. Someone didn't care what she was wearing. Nobody knew she had Richard Grere's credit card in her pocket, right? And she was about to spend an enormous amount of money. So she comes back into the store all put together with all of her bags. And every time I go shopping, I carry all those bags just like she did. And I'm like, okay. But here's the best part of the whole thing. So when she walks back in and says, big mistake, big, huge, she wanted them to see, look at what can happen when you have someone's credit card, and it doesn't matter whose it is. I have money and I've got all my bags and you just lost all this business. So it was a little bit, I'm letting you know what you did wrong, right? Now, to radio. What's the one thing normally we never see? We don't know if someone's listening to the radio who is on their couch and can't move. We don't know if they're 80 years old or they're 20 years old. We don't know what they look like. We don't know if they're large, they're small. We don't know what color hair they have. We know nothing about these people, but guess what? We care about them. We care about all of them. So we're not doing what those ladies in that store did, right? They judged her. So we can't do that with radio because we care about everybody. We have a topic, we have a platform, we love what we do. We share it with the whole world, regardless of what anybody's stature, and nothing matters, right? The reason we're here is because we care about the people. We want to get the information, the knowledge, the resources into the hands of everybody. So that's my quote, and that's why I love it.
Very well done. Very nice. And I love the scene. She comes in looking very, shall we say, flighty. She comes in first looking like a hooker from Beverly Hills. Like, what is she doing here? Oh my God. She looks cheap. She looks trashy. I don't want her. They didn't even want her in the store. They didn't care if she had money. They didn't want her because she was going to repel the fancy schmancies who were coming in. It was a very, very interesting scene. Thank you for that great quote, Wendy Jones. I see I'm going to Wendy Jones. I've got it. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Michael Hartzman has picked a
Yes.
quote from Ted Lasso, played by the wonderful Jason Sudeikis, talking to Sam, played by Toheeb Jimoge. Season 1, Episode 2. The episode was called Biscuits. It originally aired on August 14, 2020. My main beef with Ted Lasso, Michael, is that they only had a 3-season arc, and everybody's pissed because it was such a good show. It should have lasted at least 5 to 7 seasons because we wanted to know more. The theme of Biscuits, I have the episode, is Ted Lasso and Coach Beard, it's their first day working for the football club. And Ted, of course, was hired to help the club fail, even though we didn't know it, by Rebecca. Ted brings in a tin of biscuits, which are cookies in British, to Rebecca, interrupting her while she's Googling her ex-husband. Okay. Ted wants to get to know her, and she says, no, no, no. And in the middle, he's playing Kenny Rogers music and trying to serenade her. And finally, she says to him, I don't have time for biscuits with the boss this morning or any morning. And Ted leaves, but he hints that he'll be back again the next morning. So here is the quote. And this is another part of the show of that episode where he's talking to Sam. And he says, you know what the happiest animal on earth is? It's a goldfish. You know why? It's got a 10-second memory. Be a goldfish, Sam. Yeah? Okay, Michael, I went in 2 different directions on the same episode. Forgive me. What does this have to do with radio? Help me out.
I don't know what it has to do with radio, but I'll try to tie that in. But I do know what the 2 scenes both have to do with, and that's dealing with disappointment. Because Rebecca shot him down, and he could have dwelled on that, and he could have been disappointed, and his player screwed up in the game, and he could have been disappointed. And I will tell you, I did a little bit of my own research when I was asked for the quote, and it's not true. A goldfish does not have a 10-second memory. I read it has between a 7 and 10-minute memory. And that's how they swim around in circles all day in those little jars, I suppose. But to me, the quote really embodies how you deal with disappointment. You have to have a short memory, whether it's what I do for a living or dealing with people in general, or, someone annoys you while you're driving. You can't dwell on these things. You can't dwell on that disappointment or that anger. You just have to move on because you're not going to remember that moment a week from now or a month from now. So you might as well try to get it out of your system as quickly as possible. So that's why I like the quote, because to me, I can look at my business as people are expecting us to be right way, way more than they're expecting us to be wrong. But we're not perfect, and we don't get every stock pick correct. We don't get every market correct, but we do have to be a goldfish, and we do have to get through that disappointment or get through that moment where we are either wrong or we disappointed another person, and just be able to move on. So again, forgive me. I have no idea what that has to do with radio.
I'm going to help you.
I missed that part of the homework assignment.
I'm going to help you with that. A couple of things come to mind. See if the ladies agree with me. Number one, if you have a guest who's unmanageable, you have to get through it, get past it, get over the disappointment. You're stuck for the hour. That's the benefit. I do. All my shows are live, and I know that you have to get around it. So disappointing, put on your big girl or big boy panties and just keep moving on. As far as feedback from audience or getting numbers that you wanted 1 million downloads a week. Well, maybe you only have 20,000. Maybe you've only got 300. Get over it. We're doing something that we think is a service. We're doing a contribution, right? We're out there saying we have something to share. So I say, be the goldfish. Think about the 8 or 10-second memory. Forget about the numbers. If you think you're adding value, just keep doing it. Okay. And I'm going to quote Dory, just keep swimming, 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 just keep swimming, 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 right? In Finding Nemo, because I had a TV show in my early days doing public access TV on Long Island. And one of my neighbors said to me, I didn't like your skirt. I didn't like your shoes. You didn't have enough lipstick on. And I went to her and I said, Adele, thank you very much. When was the last time you put yourself out, went to a TV studio, invited guests, talked to people? I kind of said this under my breath and told her thank you and then didn't talk to her again. But the point was, I had to suck it up. So I changed my shoes. I put on slacks. I put on a little more lipstick. Maybe she was right. Maybe she wasn't. But the point is, Michael, we have to get past that disappointment, get the ego out of the way, get the brain in the way and say, I'm still going to share what I know. I'm still going to do this show. The heck with you. So I didn't win any awards. So what? How do you like that, Michael? Did that work for you?
Not your first day. Nicely done.
Well done. I agree.
Thank you, dear. Only about 5,000 shows. I'm working on it. I'm figuring it out. Thank you very much. Christine J. Erickson has sent a quote from Socrates, known as Soc, S-O-C, played by the wonderful, what great actors, Nick Nolte. The movie Peaceful Warrior, 2006 drama film. Let me see here. It was based on the 1980 novel Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman, set at UC Berkeley. The film stars Scott, I can't even pronounce his last name, Malakowicz, as a troubled but talented gymnast who meets a spiritual guide portrayed by Nick Nolte. Dan is a university student, a locally famous gymnast who wants to win a national championship competition, but he's restless and he's running along the streets in the middle of the night before sunrise, and he meets the old man named Socrates. And I'm just going to stop there. It sounds like a wonderful movie and I have to watch it. Here's the line Christine J. Erickson has picked. The secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. Oh, that's a strong line, Christine. Go ahead. Tell us what that's got to do with
There are a lot of lines in that film, and it was so many years ago. I saw it's actually based on a book by Dan Miller. Yeah, I chose that because I'm always learning that. I'm still learning that. I think in the work that I do and the show that we produce, it is about creating change. And one of the opportunities and challenges is how you're going to do that. And I am so good from a young age, I'm so good at speaking to injustices. I can scream, I can protest. And Now I'm at a point in my life where I think when I reflected on doing this work and wanting to speak to these issues, it's like, well, okay, now I've been in a movement about other things, not having children, but other things since I was a teenager, since I was at university. And so how are we doing things that it's not changing, aside from the powers that be, et cetera? But what is it we can do differently in activism, in, policy change, in influencing these things? And there are other people too in real life who've said similar quotes who have an influence on me that I think, how it's hard to shed that because it's easy, as you even pointed out around having your TV show, Bonnie, like to say what someone else is doing wrong, whether it's a criticism of the lipstick or, anything, a business, a politician, whatever it is. True or not. But from our perspectives, it's very easy to do that. What's very difficult is to create something new and different, and not just a thing, but an approach that creates a new way of being. And that's why it's named New Legacy, both the show and the Institute, because it's not just about speaking to, well, we don't have this and we deserve this and now we need this. That's important. Everyone should be able to have equal and equitable access and pay and those things. That's what I believe. But beyond that, it's how do we do that? And how do we do it in a way that meets the world where it is today? Inclusivity, diversity, equity. That's not just something nice to have. Like, who do we want to be as human beings? And if that's not your baseline, then what's happening here? So it's much larger than our community. I always say people without children is the portal into the work that we're doing. And we have a very powerful perspective and unique experiences. And it's about everyone, because that's what we're looking at. We're not just trying to, again, create things that are just for one group. It's about everybody. And I think that's hard. I think we know it's hard. Companies, whether it's lip service to inclusion or accessibility. So I just thought, well, why not try? And I've made a lot of mistakes and we're learning and I'm restructuring at the moment. But I'm still reaching for that, like how to do it in new ways that are truly new ways, not keep trying to fit into what doesn't work. And I think so many resources and energy have gone into that throughout the years, understandably, through organizations, resources, activism, because you start with what you know, right? That's what we all do. And I just think that we're very fortunate to be in where the multi-generational mix is right now and perspectives. And I think there is an opportunity to create something new that leads to new ways of being before we exhaust ourselves as humans or create, whatever other atrocities and extinctions, if you will.
Thank you.
So
I want to add something onto that. I'm thinking of building new. How many years ago was it that radio was something Michael and I will know? Wendy Jones, maybe a transistor, a box with a couple of batteries in your hand, right? How many years ago was it a player with something in your ears? When was it that we could get quote unquote radio? I still call it radio without wires anywhere in the world. I was a drive time host on Friday nights, Michael, at WGBB AM 1240, way out in West Babylon. It's the oldest AM station on Long Island. And I was their Friday night drive time. And I did, what did I call it? I think up close and personal. Let me rename. I was the bridge. The daytime of that station was the Chinese radio network based in Flushing, New York. At nighttime, they went to what we used to call vanity radio. Hello. Well, you bought time and you did. Yeah, you had a philosophy show, a cooking show. Mickey B, the Prince of Rock and Roll, his rock and roll show followed mine. And I was the bridge. And I started interviewing authors. But that was still an engineer behind the glass with me sitting at a desk with a microphone on a stand. Okay. And they'd plug in the carts, they called them, with the music for the breaks. And that was radio. And if you weren't within the reach of that station tower, you were not going to hear that radio show. Period. End of story. And then I became aware of something called internet radio. Oh my God. where people could be anywhere. You could be anywhere. Your listeners could be anywhere. And everything changed. So I'm going to say, Christine, that we're in the age of the building the new of internet radio, having voices over the air anywhere you have an internet connection. The wires are no
Absolutely.
longer to be seen, and you'll have the little box, but we have little wires on our ears sometimes. Thank you all for the quotes. I appreciate how much effort you put in. Even you, Michael, you really did a good job. I love the quote. Just keep
Thank
swimming,
you.
swimming,
Yeah, I
swimming.
love
You're
the
welcome.
I love the respect for goldfish that you actually did that research. I appreciate
It's
that.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Michael, you're just the goldfish
Thank
king
you.
today. Now, I have a little surprise for each of you. Each sent me 4 statements on what radio means to you, the impact, the importance, the future. I'm picking 1 statement from each of you. I want to watch the clock. We've got 15 minutes left. We've got a lot to cover. So, Wendy Jones, I'm picking your statement number 3. Don't look for it. I will read it to you. I want you to take 2 minutes to unpack it. If Christine or Michael have anything to say, just give me a thumbs up or an okay sign, and I will call you because I can see you on Zoom. Michael, I'll pick 1 for you after that, and 1 from you, Christine, and then I have some celebrity birthdays that I don't want you to miss because that's part of the show. So here we go. Wendy Jones, statement number 3. She says, feeling overwhelmed comes from thinking about everything all at once. Taking bite-sized pieces of information can reduce this anxiety. Let's relate this to your radio show and how you produce at that level. Wendy, go ahead.
So the goal of my radio program, the radio program, is really to share information with people without being overwhelmed. So if you think of something major, like I need to get my mom out of the hospital, I break that down so simply. And every single podcast I do, every single week is completely different. So one day I might be talking about mom needs to go into rehab. So she needs physical therapy. She needs, a nurse to check on her, or maybe she needs hospice. Like there's a lot of different steps that come into practice. So every single person that has a traumatic event, which is usually what happens in my industry, something, somebody passed away, somebody fell downstairs, broke a hip, whatever the traumatic event was, you're aging and something's going to happen to your body. So when I break that down into bite-sized pieces, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to understand. And what I love is it's a safe place that people can just listen to everything I'm saying, because nobody wants to have these conversations out loud with another person. But when they can just tune into radio and they can hear all this information, this just happened to me today. One of my friends called me. She's like, your show was so good. I couldn't believe it. I had to call my friend and I figured out she was dehydrated and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, well, good, I helped you. But this is what I'm talking about. People just have a safe place. They can listen, they can learn, they can gain resources, information, and then use it for themselves to be better prepared for the future.
Thank you. I like the idea of bite size. Michael or Christine, anything you want to say? No pressure. Okay, let me move on. Michael, I'm looking at statement number 3 also from you. Let me read it. Excuse me, my throat. While it does, this is Michael talking, while it does surprise me that there is still a medium for news stations only that will give you the headlines, the weather, the sports, the traffic, and financial updates every 20 minutes, I believe most people turn to the customized approach of the Weather Channel, CNBC, sports, to get the information they want at that moment. Here's where Michael says about himself. He says, hosting my own podcast, I'm aware that the information we provide and discuss can get old very quickly and sometimes not age well. This is part of the challenge every week when Dom and I, as co-hosts, do our market review of the prior week's activity. Very interesting, timely information. Michael, talk. 3 minutes. Go.
So frequently I will get a phone call from a client who has heard something either on the radio or on TV, and I would know immediately what news bubble they are trafficking in. It's just so evident to me. And my job and Dominic's job is to really not get hung up on what we call in our business headline risk or that sensationalist risk that people will call me up and call Dom up and say, I just heard so-and-so, sell everything, we're going into a depression. And we have to say with conviction, we're not, right? I mean, and I literally answer that question every single day, going into a depression or recession, if this person's elected, if that person's elected. Now on the podcast, because we're highly regulated and we do have our regulators listen to our show, I'm sure they'll listen to this show, Bonnie. We are very careful not to make predictions, not to talk about individual securities. However, the show can not age well, or it can age beautifully if we're right. More frequently, they do age well because we do talk about things logically, but we are both very mindful when we do our show not to alarm clients or make these dire predictions. We try to break down what happened for the week, talk about it logically, and how does that dovetail into the next week. And sometimes we have estate attorneys on. Wendy, we've had experts on aging. I don't know if you ever heard of the MIT Age Lab, but we do a lot of work with them. So we do cover different topics as well. But every single time we do, we are mindful that we do not want any person making an investment decision based on what we say generically. I think that's really super important. There's a financial host, which I will rename nameless, who has millions of followers and who makes these blanket recommendations all of the time, and it just makes me crazy.
Thank you. Are the regulators going to be watching this show, Wendy? I'll get to you in a second. Michael, really?
They might
Okay.
be.
I try to behave myself. Wendy, talk. 2 minutes.
So
1 minute,
just
go.
a quick comment, Michael. I feel like you are managing a lot of emotions in your industry, and God bless you, because you're a very calm, cool, collective man, and you started something during COVID, which was a lot of heightened emotions everywhere. So I just want to say hats off, because it's a tough industry to be in, and especially this time in the world. So God bless you. Really.
Thank you.
You're doing great.
Very nice.
I appreciate that.
And
Thank
Michael,
you.
I had a lawyer on Long Island, an estate planner on my TV show several times, and she had me put up a disclaimer. Nothing on this show in this conversation should be concluded to be legal advice. And I did a newsletter for her, and I had to put the same disclaimer. Go ahead, Michael, briefly.
No, it's really important. I'm a certified financial planner, and I really try to get to know our clients. And then, they turn on the radio and they hear something which may not apply to them at all.
Yep.
But as Wendy said, they make it personal. They feel like, well, I'm listening to radio, that person's speaking to me.
Yes.
And
yes.
And I deal with it I deal with it every single day.
That's what we, in a way, that's our goal, is to speak to each listener as though they're the only one we're speaking. It's like people say, if you're nervous about speaking in public in the days when more and more people are speaking on stage in real events, find one person in the audience and make eye contact with them if you're nervous, and think you're only talking to that person. That will keep you from being so nervous, but it'll make that person, oh my God, that was, okay, let's not go there. Thank you. Christine, I'm looking at statement number 2 for you, my dear. And you say, listen to this, everybody. I value the opportunity to host a live show as there is nowhere to hide. And she puts a little smiley in there. While in the beginning, it felt and still feels like a vulnerable thing to do, as I continue to learn, it's also freeing in the ways it lends to authentic conversations and removes the element of performative perfection. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Christine, 3 minutes, and then I got to brush through a bunch of stuff. So Christine, go ahead.
Yes, and it does not mean I'm comfortable with it. However, I do really appreciate it. This still isn't, my wheelhouse. It was a way for me to start activating my own work with the Institute, is why I started this. And to keep reflecting on my thoughts as well, and to see who's in the community and who's doing what. And actually, the very first interview that I did was I interviewed a woman from Ireland who had done a radio documentary. So I thought that was lovely, so she's a filmmaker, and that she had this audio only thing that she had won an award for. And I really loved that. And it brought me back to that. And also she was so lovely. I had to compete with her beautiful, soft Irish accent. And I was nervous. It was my first one. Like, it was a disaster from my perspective, but she carried the whole show. So thank you, Hillary. But it was like that. I forgot. when I stopped thinking, when I got out of my head, or when I got out of the fishbowl, so to speak, instead of focusing on being disappointed in myself or, those things, it really just became the conversation between two people after that, or whoever, or sometimes I have more than one guest, but really the one-on-one. And I keep thinking, how can I make that really feel more like we're on a living room set, or in that space? And I think it is very intimate, the before and after conversations, the audio only, where people can be comfortable if they need to be. I've had people who aren't necessarily well or aren't feeling well, and they show up anyway. And I say, you don't have to have your camera on. You don't have to, wear what you need, eat what you need, do what you need to do. And I love that, because it removes those other layers of, how we should look, all of the things you spoke to earlier, Wendy, about, listeners and audiences. And I want that for my guests. And so while I really appreciate the platforms that we have potentially and how this is being pushed out today, I've kind of stayed, in that corner for right now, and it'll depend, there'll be times when it's more appropriate to do that, but I really cherish that space.
Yep.
Of doing that, both for myself and for the guests.
I hear you. I went to visual as soon as Zoom was available to us at Voice America in 2019, because I had years of doing TV and I missed being on camera. I missed that opportunity to look at the camera and see something. I'm looking at all of you, and I was doing radio for years and thinking, is that person done with that? Was that a semicolon? He said, was that a dash?
Yeah.
Is he going to, I don't want to step on that. And I got good at that, but I like being able to see my guests. Thank you all for the discussion statements. I appreciate it. A lot of variation in there, a lot of points you all hit. Let's do some fun, famous birthdays. Today is January 9th. Jimmy Page, anybody remember him? Is that Led Zeppelin guitarist, songwriter, ranked number 3 on Rolling Stone magazine's The 100 Greatest Guitarists of All Time. Anybody know how old he is? Michael, you want to take a guess?
77?
He's 80 years old, and he co-wrote Stairway to Heaven with Robert Plant, one of the most impressive guitar solos anywhere. J.K. Simmons, the actor, remember him from Whiplash? And he does a lot of commercials for an insurance company. He's 69. There you go. Imelda Staunton, who played Dolores Umbridge in the Harry Potter movie. She's 68. Dave Matthews. Anybody heard of the Dave Matthews Band? Yeah, Grammy for So Much to Say. He's 57. His jam band inspired a generation of rock bands who used acoustic guitars and loosely liberal lyrics. That's a nice alliteration. How about Kate Middleton? I should have worn a whatever you call those, fascinator. Officially Catherine, Princess of Wales, married William, and she was the daughter-in-law of the Princess Di. Now, yesterday was the birthday of 3 Illuminati's, glitterati's I have to mention, and I did on my radio show last night. Elvis Presley was born on January 8th, and he would have been 89, the king of rock and roll, okay? So happy birthday almost to Elvis, left us at the age of 42 in 1977. David Bowie was born yesterday in 47. I don't have to say anything else about David Bowie. What is there to say? And Stephen Hawking, the legendary physicist who got ALS and was paralyzed. And he wrote the book, A Brief History of Time. It stayed on the British Sunday Times bestseller list for 237 weeks, broke a record. Now I got 3 minutes left. Let's see what we can squeeze in here. I have 3 social media stars who are celebrating their birthdays today, January 9th. I want you to listen up. We have a young lady named Wengie, Wengie. She's 38 years old. She's on YouTube. Wendy, because she said her real name is Wendy, so I'm addressing this to you. She's an Australian Chinese beauty and a lifestyle sensation, and she runs one of Australia's top blogs. I don't want to break your heart, but she has 13 million subscribers on YouTube. Okay, that's why we put her in the birthday list. And TikTok, this is for you, Michael. TikTok, we have a young man named Blake Gray, Grey, 23 years old today. He has only 9 million TikTok subscribers and 4.6 on Instagram. He's part of a tour group called Impact Meet and Greet Me. I have no idea what he does. And then this is for you, Christine. We have on Insta, we have a young man named Deshae, Deshae Frost. He's 23. Poor guy, only has 2.1 million followers. We got to do something about him, Christine. He's a stand-up comedian, and he was on CBS, a SWAT TV show, and he opened for Tiffany Haddish. So that's a big thing, a feather in his cap. Wow. Today in 1947, Frank Sinatra recorded the Irving Berlin ballad Always. Today in 1962, Sam Cooke released Twistin' the Night Away. In 1960, on this day, Patsy Cline became a member of the Grand Ole Opry. I have 1 minute left. And the Beatles 65 jumped from number 98 to number 1 on the Billboard albums chart in 1 week. The other 2 songs they had on the top 10, A Hard Day's Night, yay, and The Beatles Story. There we go. And I don't have any more time except today is Balloon Ascension Day, International Choreographers Day, National Apricot Day. Say hello to anybody named Austin or Carter. It's their day. National Cassoulet Day. It's a casserole. National Word Nerd Day and Poetry at Work Day. And that's all I have time for. Okay, listen up. Top 10, 2014. Top 10 tips for women. Aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. That's for us girls. Okay. Now, here are my closing words.
Thanks.
And stick around. We're going to take pictures. I have 1 minute left. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. Kiss slowly. Yes. Yes. Love truly. Everybody laugh with me. Laugh uncontrollably. 1, 2, 3. That's enough. And thank you. Never regret anything that made you smile. Final closing. Work like you don't need the money. Dance like no one's watching. When I was teaching disco on top of a Formica table in a cafeteria in Oregon and 250 people in my class, I never fell, but they waited for it. Sing like nobody's listening and love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Get over it. Money talks, chocolate sings. La. And last but not least, I stole this line from somebody. Thank you for turning me on. Bonnie D signing off. Christine J. Erickson, Wendy Jones, Michael Hartzman, CRP. Thank you. Don't go away. Jordan, are we out?
Bye.
All clear. Great show.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jordan.